Anyway, guys, we are live with Paul and Saul. And
Dangerous. This is dangerous. Paul and Saul and Colin together live. This is dangerous.
Well, let's run the sweet, beautiful bean footage to start us. Welcome to Paul and Saul. I am Saul. The guy at the bottom, that's Paul. And the guy in the middle joining us today, Colin Bester, Midbay News' own reporter extraordinary. There were too many technical aspects of too many stories. And as Colin has noted, I haven't written an article since August the 6th. And so calling me out like that. Sorry that I went and enjoyed New York with my daughter. I'm a dog for that.
I wrote 12 in one day. Remember that?
He did. It was a Friday.
Like Thursday.
Yeah. Tremendous.
And we're going to talk about many of them today because we've got the forward funnel on the SS United States. What's the opposite of aft? Because the aft one's also been pulled.
I mean, just say both funnels are gone.
Both funnels are gone. We're going to talk about that. It's the first day of school in Okaloosa County today. The school district budget has a squeeze, or maybe not, because they have some interesting personnel moves that we're going to talk about in a little bit. One of the things that Colin is on here for, social media policies have been adopted by your local governments. What does that mean for your interaction with them? The Okaloosa jailer that has been arrested will soon see court. Whole thing going on with that as well. They want to build a veterans labyrinth, but maybe it will happen, maybe it won't happen. We'll talk about that. And finally, our big story that we have Colin on ostensibly today to talk about is the investigative report that you did, Colin, on the sheriff's office here in Okaloosa County disabling their comments. Can they do that? Why did they do that? We're going to talk about all that stuff here in just a couple of minutes. But before we start, let's talk about our big sponsor for today's show. That is our friend and yours, Steve Shutt. Steve Shutt over at Movement Mortgage is the guy that you want to go and speak with if you're going to go and get a mortgage, especially in today's climate. He is the guy that knows all the tips and tricks to make sure that you maximize your return on investment when you're buying your home here on the Emerald Coast or really anywhere. They're licensed in a bunch of different places. And so we are thankful for them today. First things first, guys, it's school time. Our kids are back at school. And it's a good time to reflect on the past summer. We've had a busy summer here at Midbay News and kind of generally. First day, guys, what do you think? Jitters, anything like that?
No, I mean, I think all of our wives are happy that the kids are back in school and they can return to some sort of normalcy, whatever that means. But yeah, I mean, I think so far it's gone without a hitch. Some of my kids are already back today, and so it sounds like it went well.
Well, excellent. Nobody lost anybody on buses so far. That was a big story back when I was at Channel 3, was the inevitable losing of one child on a bus somewhere. We didn't know. But we'd always they'd show up. So good stuff. Happy first day to all the kids who should be out of school, like you said, now. But let's go to our big story that we're going to cover early, and that is the fact that the SS United States, my friends, has lost both of its funnels. They've been pulled off. Colin, you led the charge on this story. Can you talk a little bit about what this means and what happens next in Okaloosa County?
Yeah, so basically, boat workers over in Mobile, where the SS United States is currently being held, is going through the process of it trying to be deployed as the world's largest artificial reef later this year, somewhere off the Destin Fort Walton Beach coast. Part of this process of getting the boat ready is making sure both the funnels are removed from the boat. And mind you, and Okaloosa County and the Conservancy were very adamant, saying these funnels actually did something. They weren't decorative like other ships at the time were. But these funnels will live on, everyone believes, in downtown Fort Walton Beach at the future home of the SS United States Museum, which will be located, I believe, at the location of the old Red Lobster right next to Liza Jackson Park. So these funnels will be renovated. They'll be painted up just like they were back in the 60s when it was the SS United States was the world's fastest transatlantic ocean liner. And then they'll live out their happy days until the end of time, hopefully in Fort Walton Beach.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a huge boat. You can see some of this footage that we got from back when we were on that tour. Or I guess I was on that tour. Sorry, Paul, for not bringing you on that one. I know, sad frowny face. But here is, I mean, it's an incredibly beautiful ship, even as old and I would say, frankly, as not maintained as it was when we got to go see it. But a really exciting piece of progress for Okaloosa County, who hopes to bring in something like $2 billion in revenue over the next couple of years from people coming to scuba dive and snorkel around the area. Is that about right, Colin?
Yeah, so they look at numbers from the USS Oriskany, or the USS Oriskany that was sunk in Pensacola around 15 years or so. I remember it being sunk back when I was in elementary school, not to age anyone around here, but it brought in millions of dollars of revenue over to Escambia County, and Okaloosa County officials believe the USS United States will bring somewhat either equal to or above that level in revenue, because already you have a giant tourism industry here in Okaloosa County with our beautiful beaches here, and the SS United States will add to the fishing and diving aspect of Okaloosa County, which is very exciting. But you still have some detractors on social media saying that it is a very important part of American history and people should save it rather than sink it in the Gulf.
Yeah, and so Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, there was plenty of time for them to save it. It had been sitting up north for God knows how long. So, you know what? Like, I had the opportunity to go through Mobile and I-10 on my way on a family vacation to New Orleans. And I got to see that thing from I-10, which was probably still a couple of miles away, to be honest. And it was massive how big it is. It is like, you can't even understand the scale of it until you see it in person. It is ginormous, and I can't be more excited for the area. I think it's going to be great.
Well, on something of that's sort of your specialty, Paul, like looking at bringing people into the area and having them stay. I mean, where does the county see this money coming from? Is it all kind of like tourism, like scuba diving, stuff like that, or ancillary stuff? What are you kind of expecting for this in terms of economic development?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to put it at a depth that makes it really interesting to go and scuba dive. And I think on really good, clear days, you're going to be able to see it from the surface as well. Like, you know, if you wanted to just put a snorkel on. And so I think it's going to be fantastic. I think the comparable is exactly what Colin said over in Escambia County and what they did sinking that ship 15 years ago. So I think this is going to be huge. I think a lot of divers, there's a lot of YouTubers who are filling a lot of content diving. And I think this is going to be an excellent opportunity for folks to come and do some diving content.
Is Christopher talking?
Yeah, I think he lost audio. This is what we get for going live.
There it is.
There we go.
There it is. I just hit the mute button because I'm a fool. JH is exactly right. You know, we are so excited to have everybody live and in person with us, being able to comment with us. And so I'm going to show this on the stream as well so that you can see that, hey, everybody is a part of this. So hi to JH and Ichiro, Bhuvan, Everett for showing here. And Good Crusader asked, what kind of training does it take to be a professional diver? I'm going to say probably a lot.
Ask Alex Fogg, he'll know.
So Alex Fogg, the Marine Resource Coordinator Manager Extraordinaire over there at Okaloosa County, would know a lot about that. So moving on to our next story, and it's really one that I'm glad that we have Colin and on this one for, because it is far beyond my depth at this point. The school district budget came in. They're looking at 800 and something change. Let me make sure I took notes. So we're looking at something of $850 million that they're looking at for this budget. And they say they cut positions even though property values went up and they didn't cut the tax rate. So I guess my first question is for you, Colin, like how is this possible? How are they bringing in technically more money, but they're still cutting positions?
It's a very easy answer. They're looking at the property tax rate in Okaloosa County. They added $1.25 billion to the tax base, and they're slightly decreasing the millage rate. They're going from 3.131 to 3.129, but they are decreasing it. So why are things still not adding up? Well, later this year, you'll receive a trim notice to all Okaloosa County residents in the mail explaining the budget change in Okaloosa County for schools. But significantly, the crunch that I believe that they're facing has to go with the district's flexible operating budget, which is used for classroom salaries and operational expenses. That dropped by $3.61 million from the year before. Sheila Perry, the district's financial director, attributed that decrease to The budget primarily the expiration of the federal emergency secondary school emergency relief funds, or ESSER funds, and the lower debt service needs from the declining certificate of participation payment. But however, the board believes that even though they've tried to make cuts to maintain a healthy fund balance, their reserve fund balance stands at 8.6%, well above the 3% minimum set by the state. So it's this very interesting thing, and they actually talked about it at this morning's workshop about employment. They brought in about 260 employees over the summer, and they had to get rid of about 60 employees because of the budget shortfall. It's very confusing. We'll find out more on midbaynews.com later today, early tomorrow. But it's very interesting to see how this school district budget is shaping up for the next school year.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of changes just in education policy. I mean, we're talking with the rise of charter schools, but also private schools. For example, Holy Family Catholic Academy over in Niceville cut its ribbon, I believe. Am I crazy to say, was it yesterday?
No, it was late last week.
It was late last week. And so, yeah, I mean, Paul, tell us a little bit about like what different schools you're seeing and participating in. I know you're a big supporter of Holy Family Catholic Academy. Can you kind of tell us about like what you're seeing over there in terms of the growth?
Well, just in that school alone, right, there's over 40 kids that got pulled out of the public school system. So that's a perfect example of how the state legislature and their decision to allow parents to put kids where they want affects public schools. And so you can tell the good and the bad of that, right? I'm a big proponent of sending your kids where you want them to be. If you want them in a faith-based school, you should be able to put them there. And I appreciate our state for being willing to help pay for that. But it's most definitely going to hurt our public schools. And you're going to see more and more folks utilize the state's funds for homeschooling and for private schools.
Right on. And before we go, we haven't talked about your noggin toboggan before we hit our quick break. So before our break, let's talk hats. What's going on with your hat today, Paul?
Yeah, today's hat is brought to you by Freedom Boat Club. There's actually a couple of them here locally. There's one in Destin. There's one in Blue Water Bay. I think there's also one kind of in the Fort Walton Beach, Shalimar area. And it's your ability to get access to boats without actually owning one. And you pay a monthly fee and you get access to their boats. And you can spend time at Crab Island so you wish, or you can cruise around Chattahoochee Bay.
Right on.
So, this hat is brought to you by Freedom Boat Club.
Well, thanks so much, Freedom Boat Club, for the hat. Shout out to both Road Bike and our homie Mike Hunt. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to comment, share it, and like it so that we're always there. Oh, there it is. I got it.
No, I as soon as you said it, I was like, no, don't do it. You just got.
I got
you dirty.
Is it live television fun?
You got by the internet. That's one of those things that will live on like in a media compilation.
You should isolate that.
Well, here's the thing, guys, is that
you wanted to do this live.
But that's the magic of it, right? Is that I got and people know that I'm a rube. But like you said, people will either love us or hate us. And that means that people will share it. So I don't really care because they'll be getting the news and me looking like a fool, which I can stomach. I'm a big boy. Anyway, let's move on to, social media policies, man. Colin, I know we've had a couple of social media policy updates. We're going to talk about the sheriff's one a little bit later. Tell me a little bit about this first one from Okaloosa County.
Yeah, so the Okaloosa County passed a social media policy years in the making. Pretty much, it's not telling what commissioners or elected officials do. That was over in Destin, but this is more applied to everyone in Okaloosa County. If you're an employee, just basically a set of rules that just apply to everyone. And most of them focus on like brand protection and stuff like that. So that was very interesting. And it's sort of all these social media stories happened after we did our Okaloosa County Sheriff's story, when a lot of people in the comment section were thinking, is Okaloosa County turning off their comments? Is Destin going to be doing the same thing? No, that is far from the case. And I even talked to Okaloosa County Public Information Officer Nick Tomachek, big friends over here at Midbay News. And I even apologized to him because I think I sent some unwarranted shots to his way And he said, "No, man, we're all good. But this is just a policy thing. This is so Okaloosa County's out in the open, and they're fair about everything that they do." So, I think, to me, having any organization has a social media policy. I don't think Midbay News does, but if we adopted one, this is standard boilerplate stuff, so people don't get in trouble. That's pretty much what they did.
So that's the last Go ahead.
I was going to say, Christopher lets me say whatever I want, so that works. But I think.
I also just threw out a 4-letter word, so I mean.
So listen, I love the fact that there's some social media policy, and that's fantastic. As long as we're not trying to limit, for example, what Bobby Wagner does in Destin, I'm cool with it. That guy is on social media telling you exactly what he feels and thinks with his constituency. They know exactly where he stands. As long as they're not trying to limit stuff like that, then I'm cool with it.
Let's talk about that one then. I mean, so Paul, the city of Destin just put out a social media policy as well, much different than the counties, right? So the social media policy over in Destin basically says there are rules and you should probably follow them, but if you don't, we're not going to do anything. Thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, I'll turn it back around. Do you guys think they're trying to limit Bobby? Yeah, long pause. Are they trying to limit Bobby or are they not? Because listen, that guy is young. He's using social media properly, and he's putting everything out on the table for anyone to listen and watch. And I haven't absorbed all the content, so I don't know if he's put a foot in his mouth at any time or if he's upset anybody else within the city of Destin. But that type of openness is what we should want from our people.
Mathematically, that's coming, right? Because I just did it, so surely he will, right? I think that you're right. I think that this looks like it could be a policy that is meant to tamp down the free and
we should ask him.
use.
We should ask him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. So maybe if I ever get around to writing another article ever again,
I said that as a joke.
I know, but I'm gonna just hammer you for it. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I mean it looks like a chilling effect, a chilling policy, right? Because why else would you put a policy together that has no teeth?
The thing for me is I understand where the city of Destin is coming from, because in 2023 the city of Fort Walton Beach had its own social media debacle with Councilman Payne Walker, where he posted something that probably he shouldn't have posted, but he did that from his personal page to the city of Fort Walton Beach's Facebook page. And the city at length talked about, I think it was an hour-long discussion talking about should we implement a social media policy. I remember then Mayor Dick Reinierson said, you shouldn't let one bad thing take away 10 attaboys that the city council is doing, and that we're all adults and that we should have the best judgment how we use our social media. But this resolution kind of protects the city council from possible violations of the Florida Sunshine Law. And if you're an elected official, you don't want to be hit with Sunshine Law violations, because at minimum, you're going to be recalled. And at the maximum, correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, you could face some federal penalties, and that's not a good thing.
Well, I know you can go to jail.
Yeah.
I think there might be state law. It might be a state penalty, but I mean, prison's prison, man. At any point, it's not great. But speaking of incarceration, let's have a talk.
Quite the segue.
Yeah, well,
what a great.
I do what I can, guys.
You may not write, but you know how to segue.
Okay. So Curtis, on a very serious note, right? Curtis Johnson, a former Okaloosa corrections officer, he was a sergeant over there, was arrested and charged with murdering his roommate in Milton last week. So the story goes, he called in, according to the arrest affidavit, to the 911 line and said, hey, there's been a suicide. Said that his roommate initially committed suicide. They went in, got a warrant, found that he, was in there with his roommate. He said that they had an altercation, an argument. He changed his story to say that he shot her in self-defense. Deputies with the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office then arrested him, booked him in the Santa Rosa County Jail. where he is right now. Kind of a disturbing story because the roommate, he says, was a platonic roommate, and that she, had a dispute about the rent, and it escalated, according to Johnson in the affidavit. Using according to and allegedly a lot here, because the information we have comes straight from law enforcement on this one. And so we're looking into what's going on exactly, but the story, according to the affidavit, has changed several times from Johnson. Judge Clifton Drake will be hearing this case of this Okaloosa County corrections sergeant who worked there for a 5-year period and then went to state law enforcement for about 11 years and then came back to Okaloosa County, where he worked for another 8 years until the shooting took place. And he was terminated immediately by the Okaloosa County Department of Corrections and ultimately the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, this dude's done. I mean, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this story. I mean, when you change your story so many times, I believe the victim had 6 bullet wounds. That is not anywhere near what happens when someone commits suicide using a gun. And the fact that you lie up front and then try to claim self-defense afterwards,
it's not a good look.
It's not a good look.
And so moving on to Walton County, Veterans Labyrinth, basically the lakefront, that circular lake, one of only 2 in the world, both in Florida, that are natural. They want to put some sort of a veterans memorial. This labyrinth idea actually came up before. The CRA wanted to do something like this, basically a big maze. Labyrinth, I guess, fancier way to say maze in Greek. And so they said, like, oh, we want to do this. It got shot down by the city council. And then they said, oh, but we want to do it for veterans. So that's why you should do it. It's for the veterans. And so one of the county or city commissioners, city councilman, said basically, like, hey, I'm offended by the fact that you basically just gave us the same plan and slapped veterans on it. So you guys have parents that are veterans. What are your thoughts on this?
I there's so many things, for me, who grew up in the Pensacola Milton area, and seeing so many things are targeted toward veterans that I really didn't think were veteran centered. To see a labyrinth or just it seems like a walking park, a walking trail, somewhere you can just be outside. It doesn't seem to me that really instills celebrating veterans to me. That just seems like a green space, and that can be open to anyone. Todd, and I remember talking to Steven about this, who actually wrote it, and he was more interested about how the CRA is actually spending money, because this was a $22,500 development, and they've had 10 public meetings on this. They spent $22,000 and they haven't really gotten anywhere on this project. The main takeaway from this is it seems that we saw an example of poor government planning rather than a failed veterans monument.
Paul?
I wish I could fight Colin on this one, but I sort of agree with him. They've spent over 100 years, keeping that place pristine and nice. And, they got the library and the old school there, and they do the Christmas Day stuff. It doesn't need more things around it. You guys got something great already. And, I don't think the labyrinth is necessary. And it does seem a bit disingenuous to slap veterans on it afterwards to try to get, some approval for it. So, yeah, I'm with Colin on this one.
Well, guys, if you guys wanted to challenge this thing in court, I know a great attorney, Lisa Patel law firm out there in Blue Water Bay, typically focuses on contract law and business stuff like that, but has a lot of advanced degrees besides her Juris Doctorate, master in legal letters, things like that. She's a wonderful resource for people who are needing a lot of documents, law, stuff like that. So check her out at LYP Law. We have a link to it, as always, on our website. So check her out there. Now let's get to our biggest story, right? The story that we originally were just going to have Colin on for this segment as an interview, but it kind of expanded because there's just a lot of stuff today. We're talking really about the sheriff's office and their social media policy. So Colin, if you would just kind of give us the rundown about how this story came about, and tell us tell us what your story kind of reveals.
Well, it was very interesting Monday around the Midbay News office last week when this story went out. This story was about 65 days in the makings. I think we started June 1st when I came on to Midbay News, and we finally put it out. But it was pretty much a deep dive into why the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office turned off their comment sections across social media. You can't even leave a Google review on the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. It's pretty much that comprehensive. But it all surrounds the March shooting of then 22-year-old Marquise Jackson, which later became affectionately known as the Acorn Cop incident. Sheriff Aiden and the spokespeople for the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office said it was a move to get rid of the bots so the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office could have a better way to communicate to the public. In video obtained by Midbay News, it seems that, while there was a question of public safety with officers and himself, because he said he was getting doxxed and he said he was getting death threats, he also said that the comments were possibly politically motivated, saying that we have hundreds of Democrats a day. I dove through pretty much 4 to 5 hours of constitutional law and researching this article. We also interviewed Mike Chesser, and he pretty much local attorney Mike Chesser, and he said that in constitutional law, government pages like the sheriff's office are listed as limited public forums, and they can moderate comments based on anything they really want. It's not really written in constitutional law. It's more of other things are sort of detailing what government agencies can and can't do on social media. And with them turning their comments off literally days after the Acorn Cop shooting went public. So this went public in February 2024. At the end of February, they initially turned off their comments. They said Mike Chesser believes that it was purely reactionary to turn off their comments, which is not okay to do so. Then Midbay News did a public records request to find out if there was any written documentation, because the sheriff's office said that there was discussion with lawyers on what they could and couldn't do. And we wanted to see if that information actually existed. So we sent a records request in on June 6th. That was not answered. We followed up on June 27th. They had no record of our request, so we resubmitted it again. And then in July, we had a 295-page document that only entailed 2 things. One, an article about the rising cost of condo ownership in Florida, and another one how to deal with social media hate of veterans' perspective. But there was no written documentation internally by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office on the decision to turn their comments on or turn their comments off. We also did a full hour-long video about this incident. So you can go to midbaynews.com, scroll down a little bit. You can find the story. You can watch that entire hour-long video, sort of breaking down everything piece by piece.
Yeah. And so that's one of the big stories. And really the story I actually had you come on for, but I had a brain fart, is about Walton County. So believe you me, this is definitely our first live Paul and Saul. But let's talk a little bit about the Walton County, the attorney that is likely going to get approval for both supermajority as well as a significant pay bump or a significant amount of guaranteed money here in the next couple of, next 24 hours. Tell us a little bit about Clay Atkinson's potential deal with Walton County.
Yeah, so tomorrow the Walton County Commission will decide whether or not to make Clay Atkinson the attorney for Definiak Springs, the attorney for Paxton, the attorney for Freeport, the TDC, pretty much everything in Walton County he is the attorney for, and he's been the interim county attorney since March 2021. They're going to vote on him to make him the permanent county attorney with a $50,000 per month retainer. If approved, this will start on September 1st, and it mostly goes on a monthly non-refundable retainer by the county for all normal legal services. There is no hourly billing for that work. Litigation will not be covered by county insurance, and that's billed at $400 per hour. For county financing and debt assurances, the firm earns 1% to 2% of total obligation that's split with the bond counsel, and then also he gets billed for real estate transactions. The part of it that's also interesting is that for job security, I would say that out of all Walton County positions, he's going to be the most secure Walton County official on the payroll. For the first 90 days, or for the first 9 months, each either party can end their agreement of employment with each other. But after 9 months, if approved, Clay Atkinson to be fired, he requires a supermajority. That's 4-1 to be fired. And the main crux of the story that was very interesting that I learned, I think Christopher and we talked about this on Friday. In lieu of Stephen doing it, I went ahead and did it. But Commissioner Danny Glidewell argued that there was no viable alternative in a July meeting. Well, there's the rub, because documents obtained by midbaynews show that 5 people outside of Atkinson applied for this position. And according to one of these people, Michelle Blankenship Jordan, there was no interview process for her so far. So it looks like they're rubber stamping Clay Atkinson to be the next permanent county attorney. Yet, I mean, it seems like, and Christopher can fill me on anything prior, but Walton County was just put through the ringer in June or July of this year about improper hiring practices and the fact that they man following the status quo when it comes to hiring these individuals. So there's the rub. But it looks like the Walton County Commission will confirm the agreement tomorrow, pending anything. Our reporter Stephen Saul will be at the Walton County Commission tomorrow, so we'll wait for Stephen to fill us in on anything like that. But this certainly has the issues, the beginnings of a huge conflict of interest story happening within Walton County government.
Yeah, essentially the biggest problem, right, for this conflict of issue is that Clay Atkinson is also in addition to potentially being the county attorney, will be the city attorney for all 3 municipalities in Walton County. And while he says that a Florida bar opinion says that that's totally fine, there's a lot of people, at least on our social media, that say that this doesn't really pass the smell test. And I'll give you an example. About 3 months ago, Freeport wanted to do its own mosquito control district, right? And so that meant separating from Walton County. Well, Walton County's interim county attorney, Clay Atkinson, was also the city attorney for the city of Freeport, And so what that means is, like, maybe he had the best interests of Freeport in mind at the meeting, right? But there's fair speculation that says, like, well, what if he didn't, right? And so whether or not he is not acting in a moral way is kind of irrelevant, right? It's about the perception, right? You want to be above board, as it were. So it's going to be an interesting meeting tomorrow.
You definitely don't want to have to deal with a supermajority to remove someone. I don't like that. And then you should not have the supermajority yourself of managing every major city and the county from a business perspective. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's because of essentially, if you have a supermajority that you need to get out, right, to get somebody out of there, I mean, it almost defies democracy. A supermajority is a very high bar, especially for somebody that's, when power is invested in one person. That it's not it doesn't smack of small r Republican governance. So we'll see what happens there. But we got one more thing to do before we wrap it up, guys, and that is talk about that hidden sweet cash. Paul, tell me about it.
Yeah, both Christopher and I got direct messaged from an account called Find Cash Niceville. The account exists both on Instagram and also on Facebook. And for the first day of school, whoever it is hid like $10 right outside of campus for someone to find and use, which was kind of cool. And then there's been, I guess somebody found it, which has been updated on their site, on their account. And then they looks like they hit a second one. So yeah, it's a kind of interesting, kind of cool thing for Niceville to be experiencing over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, so fun little stuff from the nicest little town in the South, or possibly anywhere on Earth. Who knows? Who's to say? Me. I'm to say. Anyway, thanks, guys, so much for joining us for this live edition of Paul and Saul. Paul, tell them what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's right.